Okay, we're officially going. Hello everyone, I'm Nikki Pursuit and welcome back to my channel. This is officially our first podcast episode.
Podcat?
Yes.
Podcast.
This is the new name. We are Past the Mic, the Podcat.
Well, everyone introduce yourselves.
Oh. Hi, I'm not Nikki Pursuit. I am Sydney Pursuit.
Pursuit that Sydney.
Okay.
Yeah, also, almost dropped it.
Oh.
My name's Mark. I am also not Nikki Pursuit.
How do I know you guys?
How do you know? Well, honestly, I don't really know. I don't really know you. You kind of pulled us into the car.
We just picked you all off the street.
The doors did not unlock.
Yeah. They told us all we had to do is make the podcast and then we could leave.
I told them free candy and I just showed them this.
Yeah, the wrong
Oh, the wrong side.
Yeah.
As we're not even holding the mic.
Is the camera still going?
Yeah, it's
okay.
still. It's
I was
as long as
sick.
it's blinking, it's going.
Yeah. But
Sick.
like
Winning.
I was saying, my name's Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
There you go.
Hi, Mark.
Wait, oh,
Hi,
hello.
Mark.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm Ralph, and Nikki Pursuit is my business.
Am I your Slido?
Side hope. Why not in front?
What in the actual? So I basically know them from reenacting, and then Sydney through, obviously.
Me.
If you guys have not noticed, I'm dating.
What?
You what?
You are?
What?
I
Chicken
didn't
butt.
tell her yet.
Oh.
Sorry, I ruined the surprise.
Sorry.
She had to find out the hard way, literally.
I mean.
Okay.
This has turned into a completely different video.
Nah, are we at that point already?
I'm sorry, Nikki.
Anyway,
I don't
so
know if that's gonna be allowed on YouTube.
Beeps is good, by the way.
don't
yeah.
giving away where we're from.
Go to Peeps, everyone. Not Beeps, but Peeps.
Yeah,
Peeps, the marshmallow. Go inside a marshmallow.
Go inside of a
actually,
marshmallow.
Inside.
That sounds kinky.
So, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of, I remember being a kid, and what we would do at school was we had a microwave in the cafeteria.
Would you guys explode Peeps?
Close. What we would do is we would stick toothpicks in either one of them, and then put them in the microwave so they'd expand, and watch them basically sword fight until one of them popped. Because the thing is, they're getting closer and closer and closer until one of them pops. And then I think the way we stopped doing that was either one of the teachers found out, or one of the kids started betting money. It was one of the two. And then either way, we ended up getting busted. So we
If
couldn't do
only
it anymore.
sumo wrestling worked that way.
Sumo wrestling?
Is this how you are in bed?
What? I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
I don't.
Anyway,
So basically,
Can we crop that part out?
I'm assuming she's gonna cut out a lot more than just that.
we'll see.
Well,
I'm kidding.
So bedtime would be like sword fighting, I'm guessing is what it is, since you said.
something you want to tell me?
Well, you did say she's bigger than you, so.
Oh my god.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Anyway,
Up with me.
Gonzo.
With the podcast.
Bold assumption, maybe he might be into it.
I think this has become a comedy skit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, to go on to the podcast. So this first episode will be about obviously reenacting.
No.
No?
No, sorry.
No?
His phone fell out of his pocket, so I was like,
Is that all that fell out?
My god.
Sorry, yes, I crapped myself.
for the.
You think this mic is gonna pick up on everything that we
Alright.
say?
Well, if not, the GoPro will.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Oh, sorry if I accidentally gave a little bit of like mic weirdness there by touching the top of the mic.
Oh, sorry,
But-
Mike.
But here, I'll get into reenacting. I'll get into the start of it. So,
First of all, mention what group we reenact for so the people know.
oh yeah, we reenact with the HUSC, the Historical Union of Southern California. You can find us at www.historicalunionofsoutherncalifornia.com.
The link will be in the description.
Heck yeah,
Winning.
well. So, I think really to start it off, we should really go into how we got into reenacting.
Yeah, everyone can tell their story about
Yes.
how they got into the...
100%.
Well, I guess because I have the micro go first then.
Okay,
No,
go ahead.
Actually, you're not gonna go first. I'm
Oh,
kidding.
do you?
No, you can go first.
Okay. Basically, so what ends up happening is, excuse you?
Oh, you're excused.
Oh, thank you. One of my buddies, he's like, oh, hey, Mark, I'm going to this Airsoft Con thing. I know you have like a World War II uniform, that being USGI, and he's like, I got the chance to win an airsoft gun, but the people that were giving it away were like, how will we know it's you? So I told them you'd come in your World War II stuff so they know it's me.
You do what in your uniform?
And basically what happens is I show up, and it turned out that the 9th ID with the HUSC was also there. And
Winning.
at that point, I actually didn't even know that there was anybody in California that did reenacting. And so I was actually really excited. That's how I met the HUSC.
How long ago was this?
Pre-COVID, definitely.
It was definitely pre-COVID. I think it was like 3, maybe 4 years ago.
How old? Let's see, you
Because before,
You were
at
16
that
at the
point,
time?
I wasn't old enough to join yet.
were you 16 or 17?
I think it was 16.
And you're 20.
Yeah, I'm 20 now.
Yeah. So
4 years ago?
4 years, yeah.
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Well,
good.
Sydney,
Oh,
do you
wait.
want to tell your story before you pass the mic?
I think I should go last for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Oh, my turn, eh? Okay.
Here's the
Okay.
long story. Everyone
Yeah.
get comfortable.
Okay, so obviously Ralph here, and my story originates back in 2009, if I recall, and I met this dude named Panda. We all call him Panda. And as it turns out, I was in a German class. Figured I'd take up a foreign language, and German was the only thing that sounded interesting, more or less. And then as I'm sitting in class, I remember seeing these two guys conversate. One guy I knew back in high school, a weird dude, but anywho's, I see him talking some German stuff and talking about like stuff that related to like World War II Germans. It's like, huh, that's interesting. And then come to find out they're actually talking about reenacting, because I figured it was like, I don't know, like video games or something. But then as I found out, that's how I found out that World War II reenacting existed at the time. So I talked with him about it and got to learn a lot about it, and then tried out German at the time, and it was an interesting experience. But ultimately I tried out for 9th ID, who we met Matt Caffrey. He was the secretary at the time for the 9th ID, and so he got me suited up for the event, because I didn't have anything at the time for uniforms or weapons. So he helped me out a lot, and I've been with the 9th ID ever since. But and the rest is history, as the saying goes.
Literally.
I guess your
It's
turn.
more like reenacting history, but
Yeah, really, quite literally, yes.
My story, I think most of people that have watched my videos in the past know my story, because I've kind of, I guess, filmed my whole experience being in reenacting. But if you guys don't know, and this is your first video of me, hello. I don't know how the intro was for you. I joined because my ex was into reenacting at the time, still is. I kind of knew that he did it because of photos on Facebook and whatnot, but I never really knew what it was. I think it was like a month or two after we started dating, he was like, hey, wanna come and like see what it's like? And he kind of just threw me in for a loop, because I had never camped before, and he thought he would combine camping and reenacting into one event for me. And so he just kind of threw me in a uniform, and like I was the one driving, and we went up to the campsite that we have most of our battles at. It was about like 8 o'clock at night. I couldn't see a thing. I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't really know what it was, like I said, until that weekend where he just kind of was like, let's go to this one training thing and you'll kind of see what it's like. He kind of just taught me from there, and now we're here a year and a half later. I help run the like women's reserve stuff now, but at the time that I started, there wasn't really anything women marine related at that point. If there was much of anything, there may have been like 1 or 2 females that had a uniform of it, but they had other primary units that they were in. But other than that, I mainly do women's reserve for Marine. So been with Husk for about a year and a half or so now, I think.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Let's hear your side of things.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sydney. I am 20. I am an Aquarius. So obviously my story is the longest one of everyone else's. I've never done it before. Reminds me of the.
Are you sure about that, Mark?
Reminds me of the coming out stories where it's like, that's me. I've never done this before. No.
I love that for you.
No, I've never had the opportunity to do it. I mean, I've had the opportunity to, but I haven't had the time to. I was introduced to it when I started talking to Mark. So obviously, you know, I've been slowly introduced to the idea. As far as trying it in the future, I would love to try it in the future. I am a full-time college student right now, though, with lovely bills to pay and working a part-time job. So definitely has its perks to it. But I do want to try it at some point, though.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
Okay, I'm passing the mic now. I'm passing the mic to someone who does reenacting.
I think that's kind of why all of us wanted to do this podcast in a way, is that I guess if you had any questions or like things to keep in mind for like first time reenactors or anything. Or
Oh, you're asking?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
well, yeah.
I'm sorry. The way it was worded, I looked at it and you're like, oh, just so that way you have this, and I was like,
yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm asking you. I'm like, oh. I guess the first question I have is, how informed do you have to be to start reenacting?
And whenever, like, you guys can just, if you guys have an answer for it, feel free to take the mic whenever.
Okay, so that's a very interesting question, I think. So how informed do you have to be? I think basically the minimum amount of information you should know is you should have a very minimum grasp, basically is what I mean. So it's, let's take World War II, for example, because that's what we primarily do. I think, let's take World War II, for example. I think a generic knowledge would be the best to go into it with, such as, like, at least for the United States, the war started in 41, ended in 45. I think it's good to have a generic knowledge on what impression you are interested in starting. And I mean, sometimes it's like, for me, for example, I knew about reenacting, but I didn't know about the Civil War when I tried Civil War reenacting. I was like, I know very little about the Civil War, but I know a lot about reenacting at this point, so I wanted to try Civil War out. So I think that's another way to go into it. Some people like to learn history via reenacting. So sometimes, I personally think, as long as you have an interest and you keep an open mind about it, then that's really all you need to do.
Okay.
I think I kind of want to add on to what you were saying.
Okay.
I think it kind of differentiates between men and women a lot of the time, because I feel like, at least with Husk stuff, we do so much as far as like whether it's with the public or it's just like private events, whatnot. I think we have such a broad variety that you could really, I think it really depends what you like doing.
Yeah, there's a few broads.
Yeah. But I would say first understand, like Mark said, going off like the time limit, like know when the war happened and all that. But then I would say from there, I would say go based off what niche you like doing. Mm-hmm. So understand that there's like 4 branches of, you know, there's Army, Marines, so on and so forth, and kind of go into learning about what branch you like before joining.
Oh no, because you're kind of in the Air Corps as the Army, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
That was like the Coast Guard thing. But,
That too.
Yeah.
I mean, just go based off of like what you see versus what you like, and kind of learn that knowledge from there. I don't know if you have anything to add to it.
Yeah, sure. I'll put a little bit here. Okay, so I guess to follow up on that question, it all comes down to personal interest personally, because if you have enough interest in something, then you obviously want to do some research on it. I mean, not everyone's going to expect you to know everything right off the bat, but if you have a general idea of how things should be for the time period that you're depicting, as you talk about World War II, knowing how things were at the time, and basically knowing what you're depicting when the war started, where the war ended, as you said. But otherwise, if you go into World War One, then yeah, of course, I would say it's a matter of, once again, knowing when the war started, where the war ended, and knowing how the technology was differentiated from World War One to World War Two. But ultimately, one thing that I have a bit of, I guess you could say, word of advice to everyone, depending on what you get into, maybe you expected to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so, but of course it all depends on what your personal interest is. Like World War II GI, it's easy enough. Shirts you can get fairly easily if you find originals, $10, $15, $20.
Also, but I would say it differentiates between men and women with that.
Oh, yeah.
To be fair, yeah, talking about a guy's uniform, we guys know what we're looking for, so or at least can help.
I thought you meant men in general.
Yes, us guys know what we're looking for. But no, as far as the uniform goes, if you start off simple, then yes, US, GI, Army, easy enough to get by because you can still find a lot of originals for reasonable prices. Otherwise, the gear, you start getting a little more pricey on depending on what you get. If you jump up to, say for instance, Airborne, then you basically start off with a regular GI uniform for Army, and then you have to basically build a uniform on top of that uniform, because the wool shirt, the wool trousers, typically worn underneath the, say for instance, the 1942 jump uniform pattern. So again, it all comes down to what you want to do and your personal interest. Did you
Can
want
I
to add on to that?
Let me
Sure.
add on that real quick.
Mhm.
All right. It's personal grievance time. If you base your impression off of Band of Brothers or Call of Duty World War II, like, you're the bane of my existence. 101st
Here we go.
reenactors and First ID reenactors, you know who you are. I know who you are. Stop it.
Apparently he's got a grudge,
I've got a grudge against you guys.
so it seems.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Do you have any more questions?
I can't think of any right now.
Okay. Here, let me go off of some pretty common ones.
I mean, I got a question that maybe that might be of concern or interest for you in particular. Like, what would be the one thing that would probably basically scare you away from reenacting?
Reenactors.
You can completely be honest, by the way. Don't be hesitant.
They're gonna be like, be
Yeah, what
raw.
would scare you
give it-
away from wanting to start reenacting,
They're gonna
basically?
They're gonna be like, oh, come in with the raw truth, and I just say, oh, and then they're like, get out of this car right now. What scares me, I guess, what scares me the most about trying it, I think, is the overall idea, which happens with so many people with different things, is the idea of people judging you and that whole
That's
thing.
fair.
Like, going back to my original question was how much knowledge you need to have.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for example, I had very basic knowledge of World War II, which I have a little bit of knowledge, but it's like the basic high school knowledge that they teach you. And I feel like if I applied that, it's not going to be, like I said, it's not a lot, but if I went in there, I was like, hey, y'all, and then everyone's like, it's actually y'all, hey.
This is one big one to give you that advice.
Yes.
Because I felt the same exact way you did when I joined. And I think the biggest piece of advice is, as long as you try and the effort is put in, everyone's gonna help you out. And especially if somebody sees you struggling with something, well, definitely everyone's pretty much open to helping you out, especially if they see you attempting.
Yeah, basically, as you're showing that you're making an effort to actually do a little bit of research into the uniform and depending on the time period or the specific year, because things change year after year, even by the month in some cases. But just having a general idea of what you're researching, and if you have any questions, I mean, most people for instance, our organization, they have no problem of trying to help each other out, definitely, because I mean, I don't know everything, of course. I know enough to basically help the next guy out to get a uniform situated, and but as far as for the women, there's a good amount of ladies in the organization who be wanting to help you, and most girls have been at least been with the organization for at least 5 years. So by now they'll have a pretty good understanding of what to show you and point you in the right direction. Yeah.
And if I'll touch on that real quick. So that reminds me of when I was first getting into reenacting with the HOC. I remember thinking like, oh man, I want to do Ninth ID, USGI. That sounds really fun. My knowledge, I think, was a lot more limited than I wanted to admit it was. I think basically what I knew was I knew a lot about the Normandy campaign because that's what most reenactors know.
But the most covered, definitely.
Yeah, definitely the most covered. But I knew basic uniform stuff. But I think after a while, the way you learn stuff is literally just by hanging out with people.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so much crap I would never have known if it wasn't for reenacting. It's really dumb little stuff. For example, the U.S. Army dress uniform had a black tie until I think it's What day in February was it that they changed it in 42?
So February, I don't remember the exact date. It was a transitional month for 1942 when they transitioned from black to khaki ties.
Yeah, and it's like, who knows that? I remember thinking that because I remember I went to an event. It's called the LA Air Raid, the 42 Air Raid. I showed up my first time with a khaki tie, and somebody walked up to me and was like, actually, by this date in February, they were still using the black ties. And I was like, why do you know that? He was right, but why does he know that? I have no idea how, the first person who figured that out. But, it's just weird, the little stuff like that. And then you just learn it. And it's really interesting to learn.
It becomes just the back of your hand kind of knowledge.
Kind of. And it feels almost like a drug because it gets addicting to know. Because it's like you're never gonna know everything, but it's so fun to pretend like you do. No, okay, no.
Just fake it till you make it.
Perfect. Thank you for listening to the podcast. That's all you need to know. Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it.
Thank you.
The podcast ends here.
This is Nikki Pursuit. I'm sorry. This is Sydney Pursuit. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.
Runs out of the car and books it. I don't want to be here anymore.
Alrighty. Is that actually the end of it?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't like this anymore.
Okay.
But is there any other questions that you do?
I think.
And we can always do another episode, but
That's true.
Yes, of course.
Man, this is just chaos.
I'm just realizing how fogged up the windows of the car are right now.
Being a little suspicious, isn't it?
But if you have not noticed, we're in a car.
Yeah.
The bright ring light that's
It's
the front of the
tilted
car.
over the camera.
So people are probably like,
What is
going on in that car?
Pretty much, yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised if we get kicked out of here pretty soon.
Get down to our park.
But is there anything you guys want to say before?
I got one. So, a question that I've gotten a lot of times is, because in reenacting, as more specifically in battles, we don't use airsoft guns or paintball guns. We do use real guns, but we use them with blanks. And so, a question that I get a lot for sure is, how do you know when you're hit? It's kind of like airsoft in that it's an honor system. So basically what it means is that, if you see somebody shooting at you, and it's kind of hard to describe because when you're in it, it's a lot easier to tell when somebody's shooting at you that oh yeah, I'm definitely being shot at, I should take the hit. Or even sometimes I do it, I know a lot of people that do, if you see somebody on the other side that you definitely know who they are, sometimes you'll be like, oh, hey, so-and-so, and then you shoot them. Kind of breaks the immersion a little bit.
Yeah,
but
not supposed to technically do that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of cheating. I'll admit it. But I want some kills, so, yeah.
Born to kill.
Is there anything that you've wanted to mention that you've gotten, common questions about?
I mean, yeah, I guess I can include that just to follow up on what Mark was saying here.
Yeah, anything you guys want to bounce off each other.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So
My foot fell asleep.
The stomper sleeping.
the romper stomper. Anyways. Yeah. So and follow. Huh. Oh. Oh. Wrong end, huh? Okay. So just to follow up what Mark was saying here. I mean, questions about how reenacting would be out in the actual battlefield. One thing probably people would be concerned about is safety, of course, because we're using real guns. Blanks, yes, they could be harmful at short distances, like if you're under 15 feet. What is a common thing that does happen, which is really not that common if people know better about this, is getting peppered. Basically, the hot powder from the blanks is enough to basically leave little powdered residues on your skin to the point where it burns through your skin, and you'll actually get little bits of basically freckles all over your skin. Is it life-threatening? No. But what another thing is a concern is actually watching your muzzle. You don't want to be too close to someone where your muzzle is right by the ear, because blanks, generally speaking, could be even louder than firing real ammunition, and in some cases can damage your hearing, if not blow out your eardrums. But again, that's just knowing where you're pointing your gun and your distances from each other. So that's really the main safety concern. And of course, if for whatever reason you get into close quarter combat, we used to use a bang rule, but we don't do that anymore. Basically, what it is when you're in close proximity and you don't want to waste a blank, you can say bang and then basically claim a kill or claim your death. But
Rip bozo
indeed. But as of recently, we just go off of basically pointing the gun straight up towards the trees, or towards the sky, and fire off a blank, so it makes it fair.
I've heard of that, because I've seen a couple of different versions of it. I think it varies per event. So I've seen that, the shooting in the air. And then my personal favorite version is when you're close enough to just get into melee combat. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not actually trying to kill each other, but trying, yeah. Maybe there's a couple of grunge matches that happened out there. But did I say grunge? I meant to say grudge. I think I said grunge match.
Grunge.
I meant to say grudge match.
Grunge.
Sorry about that. Edit that out in the final patch.
Forget about it.
Like that.
Roll with it, yeah.
Anyway, as I'm saying, that's actually really fun. I've seen a couple people get flipped over.
Or flipped off.
That too, probably. I think, yeah, like that's a fun thing. Reenactments like that are a fun thing to bring, like rubber casted shovels or even bayonets out. I've seen a couple of those.
Mm-hmm. Fighting knives.
Fighting knives too.
I kind
Make sure
of
they're.
I have something to say to go off of that after,
Yeah.
but
Also, make sure that if you're bringing a knife out to like fight with, just because you know it's not fake doesn't mean everybody else knows it's not fake. Cause I did end up accidentally pretty much stabbing a guy one time. Thankfully he was alright, but basically what happened was this was during a World War I battle. He came over into a hole right in front of the trench. And he had his bayonet with him. I didn't have any weapons, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna fight this guy. So he went to lunge at me with it, and I grabbed the knife, and I had spun it around and was pushing it towards him. And mind you, he had his gas mask on, so it was pretty hard to hear him. And then so he started screaming, and I was like, oh wow, he's really playing into it. Turned out that knife was fake, and he was screaming, don't stab me, it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I realized that it wasn't bending that I was like, oh, I'm actually gonna stab this guy. And so don't get stabbed, don't bring real knives.
Yeah, it's bad juju.
Yeah.
You never told me that.
I could have sworn I told you that story.
So, word of advice, yeah, if don't fight with real weapons. You're likely gonna definitely hurt somebody. That being said, though, when it comes to knife fighting or even just melee combat, we have a rule of have to tap on the shoulder. That's for at least the Husk rules, because I mean, yeah, each organization is different. Basically, stab in the chest, you're dead. or in the head, you're dead. But for us, it's always the shoulder, because in technicality, if you stab in the head, you're hitting the helmet, so it doesn't count. But otherwise, for safety reasons, we just do tap on the shoulder for melee combat, and that's an instant kill.
So in all reality, you could use the Star Trek karate chop and like insta kill somebody with that.
Anyway, just as a side note, and I get this asked or commented a lot on my social media, because I have videos of battles on my channel, and I've had people ask me, are they public events? Battles are for mainly Husk members, for us at least. They're usually not public events. Most of our public events are public displays, and they're always posted on the Husk social media. So if you just go follow that, like we mentioned in the beginning, it's going to be in the description. But usually it's most likely 99.9% of the time going to be on the website or on Instagram. I know it gets posted on Instagram and Facebook all the time. Always check social media, because a lot of the time it'll say that the battles are not for public. Although a lot of the time, if you're a member of these certain organizations, they'll have things for you to do normally. But just to preface this, not everyone from the public is like watching us stab people, I promise. But is there anything else you guys want to add?
Nah, I think that's about it.
I mean, I don't know what else really more other to add, but if this is something you really want to get into, just be prepared. Oh, always forget, huh? Yeah, if this is something you really want to get into, just prepare to spend money, of course. Yeah. Otherwise, for first timers, naturally, we'll lend you stuff if you just want to try out, because again, it's not for everyone. There's enough loaner uniforms, gear, field gear, and rifles, of course, just to give it a try, see how it is. Boots, generally speaking, is usually the one we're usually short on, just because, I mean, there's so many different foot sizes.
Especially for women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for shoes in particular, yeah, it's going to be one of your most expensive items. Just be prepared, because getting the correct footwear for the uniform, generally speaking, for guys, typically it's like anywhere between $150 to maybe even $300 in some cases.
That's expensive.
It can be.
That's a pair of boots.
I was gonna say that's a new pair of shoes for me.
For some people that are used to buying stuff from Target,
that's man expensive.
Yeah, for guys that's considerably expensive. Otherwise, for like German boots, because I reenact German as well, and like if you're talking like the jack boots or Marchstiefel, then yeah, you're gonna look at sometimes upwards of $500 if you want the high quality reproduction boots.
I was gonna kind of add to that a little bit, because I think, like you were saying, you reenact multiple things. Most people do in the organization is they'll have more than one unit that they reenact. But with that being said, like, I would personally advise this for anyone that's gonna go into reenacting. Start with one thing, then kind of go outward to see what else you like, because no one told me that when I started reenacting, and now I have like one item from like every branch, and like I have not like finished or anything.
Yeah.
So like I would personally suggest just like start with one branch that you think you really like and complete it before you go out and like branch hunt everything else. Like everyone has been saying, this hobby can be expensive. But I think depending on what you join in particular, some things can be harder than others, especially for women's stuff. You're looking at, army stuff being the cheapest stuff out of the women's stuff. And I'm not saying army stuff is generally cheap either, or cheaply made, but it's the easiest uniforms to complete. And from there, it just gets more and more pricey. So just beware that this is a hobby that you're going to be investing a lot in.
Of course. And just to add on to that too, I mean, nothing wrong with actually trying other different units or different...
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, because again, you can try one and it wouldn't interest you. You could probably try USGI, and maybe it's not your cup of tea. And you could try Commonwealth just to see how it'd be like also on the other allied side. But otherwise, if you just want to ultimately go to the Axis, and yeah, we have the German units. There's different branches that we have, like Fallschirmjägers, which is German paratroopers, Wehrmacht, which is regular army. We do have Waffen SS, however, to be clear, it's non-political anything on in his organization whatsoever. It all comes down to personal interest in history. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm part of this
Yeah.
podcast.
So I'm glad that you brought that part up too, because I remember getting into reenacting. I was really only interested in doing USGI for World War II when I first got into it. That's not to say I didn't have any interest in any other points in history or really any other like theaters of war during World War II, but I think it was.
All right, sorry for that. We had to. The battery died. Oh.
Battery died. Anyway, back to what we were saying. So, like I said, it wasn't because I was disinterested in any other theaters of war of the Second World War or any parts of history. It was mostly just because that's what I was primarily interested in. And so I finished my World War II GI stuff. I got all the kit, and I had gone to a battle for it. And I think that's what I kind of fell in love with reenacting was the battles. The tacticals are really, really fun. I remember, I think my second kit that I ever bought was German in World War II. And it wasn't even because I was like super interested in doing that at first. It was because I was like, man, these battles are really fun. I want to do more of these. Can't wait for the next one. And then I found out the next one was going to be an Eastern Front one. And I was like, well, I can't do US for that. And so I ended up getting a really good deal on a set of like German stuff because one of our guys was getting out of the hobby. And so that's how I bought my second impression. And I think that's kind of just how I spiraled into wanting to do more stuff. So now I pretty much do anything from the Mexican Revolution in 1916 all the way up to Vietnam.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah, no, I mean...
And to kind of go off of that, I think sometimes you'll get lucky with that kind of stuff because, like, there's sometimes ways you could get a lot of your uniforms that way. It's by people leaving, and as unfortunate as that is to say it, but sometimes you get lucky with getting better deals or cheaper deals off of uniforms if someone else is leaving the hobby.
Or hurting for money.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I think about 70% of the stuff that I own for impressions was bought secondhand. I think, like, for my World War II Marine Corps uniform, I think I only bought maybe 2 items firsthand. So I bought my 782 pack and my cartridge belt online, and then literally everything else I bought secondhand off of reenactors.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I guess I can continue with that one. Oh, look, I got the right side this time, I think. All right. All right. So yeah, he's on the right track as far as like getting. You don't have to buy big, of course. You can start off small, generally speaking. When you're buying uniforms, if you just want to start, like the number one thing that people are going to tell you is get boots. Like if there's something you're really serious about, because again, or shoes. You know, like for the ladies, it's mostly shoes that you're wearing if you're doing the dress uniforms. Otherwise, for out in combat, you would typically be wearing some form of boots, obviously. So just word of advice, like even if you don't like the boots, or I should say even if you don't like into reenacting, just a lot of the boots from the time period look cool anyways. So anyway,
Kind of just funny side note here, but I know that a lot of the guys will do this more than the girls will, but a lot of the guys I've seen from the unit, like just hanging out with them outside of reenacting, will rewear their clothes in some way or form. A lot of guys will repurpose it. So just keep that in mind, is that, especially, again, more so for the guys and the girls, you can integrate whatever you get into everyday wear. Just be careful if it's original, because we had this conversation the other day, funny enough, over the weekend, but there are some people that don't know what certain original pieces are for a uniform and will, I guess, deck it out in their own way, so to speak. And this is, I'm trying to be nice with my wording here, but
forget about it.
Some people will like bedazzle original pieces not knowing what it is, or so I mean, do your research and If you know what it is, hopefully you can figure stuff out and not repurpose it in that way. Just be respectful with what you're finding, and this is just generally ranting, but
The old saying is, it's only new once.
yeah. Well, but I mean, if it's reproduction,
Yeah,
you can
I
get
mean-
multiple of it and do whatever you want to it.
Yeah.
I'm more speaking on a behalf of original stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
World War II stuff, you look at 70-plus-year-old items, so, like, again, like, once you ruin it, it's ruined. You know, there's not usually a lot you can do really to save something unless you're really good at weaving, say, for instance. Yeah, like...
Just be careful with what you find.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I don't know what you're talking about. I love destroying history. it's my items now. I do what I want with them.
It's my money and I need it now.
Exactly. No, she's like, Jay Vasilone, who's that? Scrub that off, put my name on there.
Oh,
man.
no.
It's my
Did you
name.
have anything to add, by
I'm
the
kidding.
way?
I'm kidding, by the way.
I
Don't
think
don't do
I'm,
that.
I'm just taking it all in right now.
Giggity.
I was gonna say, I'm like, we haven't let you speak at all.
You're good. I'm just listening.
All right. Well, I think that's really it for me.
We've been rambling about different
Yeah.
things, so
If you've stayed this long, you're either my mom or like I don't know who you are, but
My mom?
or her mom. So at this point, like and subscribe. That's really all I've got to say.
do you have, either of you guys have anything else to say?
No, I mean, unless there's another question you want to bring
Hi,
up.
Mom.
Oh. It's like, oh, hello.
Anything else?
No, I believe that's
Do you want to say hi to your mother too?
like, oh, hello, mother.
Well, I am also would be very surprised if you have saved the song, unless you're one of our mothers. And hello to all moms that are watching this
And
video
Padres.
and dads. I
Hi,
don't
Dad.
know. I was gonna say I don't know.
I don't know if you're watching this right now, but if you are, I hope I'm making you proud.
I hope
To
we're
be
making
American.
literally. I hope we're making all parents proud at the moment, who's ever is watching. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask whatever questions you might have. And yeah, have a good day, have a good night, have a good slumber whenever you're watching this, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
That was Nikki Pursuit, everyone, and this is Sydney Pursuit saying,
Ow! Peace!
Take care now. Bye-bye then.